Now we're going to cd into SRA backend. Oh, cd into SRA backend. And then I've got this file locally on my file system, so I'm going to copy that over. So this is it's called temp.js for me, and I'll share this in the GitHub repo, something like that, so you can actually copy this yourself. So what we're going to do is we're going to say cp temp.js. So now I've got this file in here called temp.js, and then what we're going to do is we're going to open up another window. Or actually, I'm going to reuse the window that we already have here. So let me close this and say add folder to workspace. There we go. So now we've got two things here, SRA tutorial, that was from the previous videos, and now we've got SRA backend. So SRA backend's got this temp.js file here. This was all the code that we wrote in previous videos, where we had, we're checking the path to see if it's got users, if it's a put method, or if it's a delete, all this stuff. And then we're running like handle update user by ID, handle create user, handle get user by ID, all this stuff, right? So hopefully you remember that. We did that in the last video. Now we're going to actually work this into the automation. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to change this from temp.js. And I'm going to actually rename this to api.js because this is our API, right? So let's call it something that makes sense. This handler.js file, we're just going to completely kill it. The serverless.yaml file, I'm going to switch over to the SRA tutorial. I'm going to copy paste this code block here, and I'm going to paste it into our new serverless.yaml. This SRA tutorial service name up here, I'm going to change that to backend. The rest of this I'm going to leave the same, so don't change serverless tutorial up here. Actually, let's change this to say serverless backend. But we're going to leave this profile the same. And that's because this points to our local file at .aws/credentials. So if you want to take a look at that, you can run something like this inside your terminal, like that. And it's going to actually show you all the access keys and things like that that's on your system. So let's go ahead and save this. And then the next thing that we're going to do is similar to the last project, we had to do a package.json. So I'm going to go inside of my terminal in here. You can see we're in the wrong folder. It's called SRA tutorial. So I'm going to cd back. I'm going to cd into SRA backend. We're going to say npm init -y. This will take all the defaults. So now we have this package.json. Then we need to install the serverless plugin. So let's copy this here. And actually, let me show you a trick. This one will save you a little bit of time. Delete the plugins section from your serverless.yaml. And then you can run SLS plugin install. And then we'll copy that. So what this should do is it should add a plugins section directly into this serverless.yaml file. So watch this section here after I run this command. If it works, that's what should happen. Okay, let's try it again. Nope, still nothing. Application name not found. So I think this app name is what's maybe throwing errors at the moment. So let's switch over to the serverless enterprise solution, do refresh. So we might have to create the application before we can start doing any commands. So I'm going to call this serverless or SRA backend deployment profile. Yeah, that's fine. Add application. So now we've got SRA backend. I'm going to change this to say SRA backend. Now let's try to do that. There we go. Looks like we got something working. So watch this file. It should update if this works. There we go. Boom. So it added the plugin here, and then it also went to the package.json and added it in here. So it's basically doing two things. The first one it's doing is the npm install, which we did in the last video, where we went like that, copy this. And then it's also adding in the correct syntax for the serverless.yaml. So it does both of them at the same time. That's why I usually prefer to do it that way. It saves time, make sure you don't make mistakes. And when you make less mistakes, it doesn't cost you as much time to actually implement something. And that's good for everyone, including your mental health, right? Because if if you left this in off of this and then it ended up not working, that could take you like 5 minutes to debug it. And that 5 minutes of frustration is saved by just running SLS plugin install versus running npm install and then copying this over. So some tips and tricks, something that's a little bit more advanced. It's something that you probably wouldn't come across naturally. So hopefully that's some value that you're getting from the video. And now that we have that installed, we've got this stuff set up. We can see here that our functions is called main, handler main.handler. That doesn't actually exist anymore, right? If you look inside this folder structure, there is nothing called main.js, right? In the last one, we had something called main.js. And so we pointed this handler to main.handler. But now this API is called API.handler. So let's change this to API.handler. And let's change this function name up here to API. So now with that, we've now got at least most of it set up. We could probably actually do a deployment and see if it works.